So it is a beautiful day today, and so I think I am just gonna go hang out at Hodge Park for a little bit and get my vitamin D in for the day. So that's where I'm headed now. Let's see if there's any pretty nature that's sprouted since I've last been to this park. And yeah, see you at the park. So a little bit of an update for you guys. House on the market. We're taking this RV thing extremely seriously. It is Saturday, so I'm hoping we might get a couple showings today, but we'll see. Right now I'm at Hodge Park, just out exploring, getting some sunshine, getting some air. We have been really pretty busy at home right now, just getting the house ready, packing some stuff up, getting a truck. So probably Monday we're going to turn in both our vehicles and we're going to pick up our truck. We were supposed to pick it up Thursday and then Friday, and then it just didn't get delivered because the guy who was supposed to deliver it called in sick. So we do not have our truck yet, but we are getting this massive dually, like high duty truck to pull our RV. Once we sell the house, we'll get the RV, and then we will be on our way to great and wonderful things. So yeah, we're pretty excited. We are getting some pushback with one person in particular, but we are managing it. My parents have been wonderful. When I told them, they were very supportive and thought it was a great idea and thought that me and TJ would really connect even better if we went out and did this. So they weren't the problem, but we're definitely dealing with some pressure from somebody else. So, but it's happening regardless. So this person is just gonna have to come to terms with it. But so yeah, we are moving right along, hopefully. So give me some good vibes to get the house sold. That way we can start our RV adventure, and we will definitely be taking you along with us. So for now, just gonna walk around in the forest. So some more information about the RV stuff. We've already been kind of talking about where we're going to be going first. Originally we were talking about staying kind of more in the Branson area, but I think it will be August by the time we finally kind of get out and going. So our first destination is going to be kind of up towards Maine, and then we're going to be spending a whole month in October in Massachusetts, which I'm super excited about because we will only be 45 minutes away from Salem, which I'm super excited about because I hear Salem goes all out for Halloween, and they of course totally embrace the witch you know, magical side of life. So I cannot wait to participate in a lot of those events, and obviously you guys will get to see all of that as well. So that's kind of where we're going to be going. And my family took a trip to Maine. It was actually like last family trip before everyone kind of went on their adulting ways, and I really liked it up there. So, and I'm sure it's going to be just absolutely gorgeous in the fall. So that is where we're going to be going first. So if you're from Maine or around that area or have been there, let me know your favorite things to do. Let me know places that we need to check out. But I will definitely be making frequent visits to Salem. So that is where we're going to be headed first. Alright, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kaylina and I am the Hex Witch. And today I've got for you a review on The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. I finally got this one finished. It took me a hot minute, and a couple different reasons for that. The first reason being that we've got just a lot going on in our life right now. We're trying to get the house up, as I explained earlier. I'm trying to kind of get my business up and going, trying to figure out the best places to sell, whether or not I should just stick to doing fairs, or if I should open an Etsy shop. Whatnot denied me because I don't have enough selling history. So I will not be selling on there, unfortunately, but maybe somewhere down the road, once I get a little bit more experienced, then I might be able to do that. However, I may end up doing Etsy. I'm not sure. I'm just trying to figure it all out, as well as trying to tackle a billion one other things, because the RV life and figuring everything out, there's actually lots of preparation you need to do before you hit the road and start your journey, such as managing your financials and knowing how much you're going to need monthly and how much you need to make. And just because you don't have a house payment, you still have to pay rent other places that you go to stay on land, and the RV itself, and maintenance and gas and all the other things that you need. Potential generator, for instance, if you're gonna be you know, off the grid for a bit. Like, all these things are things we have to consider, and finding the best rates and where to stay that's a nice park, but maybe not complete luxury, that's a lot more expensive to stay at, that's more of like a resort where you stay at for a couple nights, like vacation style, versus the camps that are meant to be lived at long term and that are nicely kept up. So yeah, it's a whole thing, and we're obviously brand new at it. We have found some YouTube videos that are incredibly helpful. I think it's called Happily Ever After with the Hanks or something, and they are very helpful. Like, they know their stuff, they've made all these mistakes, so they're sharing on YouTube for new RVers, like what not to do, what to do, all the good stuff. So we're hoping to learn a lot from them, but I can tell that it's a little bit overwhelming, but I'm really excited. And including in that, synchronicities. Oh my gosh. So synchronicities with the universe is something else. So last night I literally was dreaming, and at one point I was like in this room and we were doing like art or whatever, and I didn't know what to draw. And so then all of a sudden I started drawing the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland. I have not watched Alice in Wonderland lately. I've not seen anything referenced to the Cheshire Cat recently. So then this morning when I woke up and I was scrolling through my Instagram, there was literally a thing about like the Cheshire Cat and Alice in Wonderland. So I was like, oh, that's a synchronicity right there. So I checked my animal frequency book, and actually I'll read you what the cat says. If I can find it real quick, I should be able to. Okay, so cat symbolizes harmony, timing, and exploration of the unknown. Cat is very confident and curious. It isn't afraid to venture into strange territory to find what it seeks. Cat can rotate its ears 180 degrees and has keen hearing. Cat developed its meow to communicate with humans. It can make more than 100 different sounds. While cat has exceptional eyesight, it can't directly see beneath its nose. Cat spends most of its day sleeping and grooming. This means that you're not afraid to go after what you want, even if it means going somewhere you've never been before. You have expert timing, hearing, and sight, but you can become so absorbed in yourself that you can't see what's right in front of you. Your love for adventure and seek thrills. Your appearance is important to you, and you go out of your way to make sure you look fantastic. So their talents are adaptability, adventurous, attract others, beauty, cleanliness, clever communication, courageous, curious, dexterity, dignity, excellent timing, exploration of the unknown, graceful, healing, independent, intelligence, intuitive, lands on feet, magical, mysterious, patient, perceptive, selective, self-assured, self-reliant, social, watchful, and wise. So they can appear, it means you need to be patient, stay quiet, and just observe what is happening around you. Timing is important to cat. It will wait until just the right time to attack its prey or make a move. It doesn't expend energy until it's needed. This means to wait before taking action to ensure you're in the best possible position to obtain your goal. You're an excellent communicator who is independent and likes time alone, but is often comfortable in a group as well. You enjoy being outside in the sun, but usually work best at night. Cat means you need to be more flexible and harmonious in your relationships with others. Sometimes you can be too unpredictable, only heeding your own instincts without regard to others. While you always land on your feet, others around you may not and will need assistance to get back on track. So, that was so true in multiple ways, because I know for me personally, I am like ready. I am ready for this. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to explore. But on the other hand, like when I was talking to TJ yesterday, there's a lot more kind of riding on him. You know, like as a massage therapist, I feel fairly confident that I could probably get a job anywhere, even though he does bring up the fact that if we were only staying places a month at a time, somebody may not take me on for that long, knowing that I'm just going to turn around and leave. So we've been devising our plan, realizing that we may be staying places for multiple months in order to sustain a job, and also just because we're just starting out with this, you know, it's going to be overwhelming as it is. So skipping month to month, literally on an every month basis, is probably not going to happen. So we're probably going to be stationed somewhere for longer than a month at a time. And this first year, we may be still in Kansas City a little bit more than in years to come, because we're just gonna need to get our footing. We're gonna need to know how much financially we need to plan for this. That way we're not just dropping everything and making stupid mistakes that we could have prevented along the way. And yeah, timing is a big thing. But I do have this just sense of calm that everything is going to kind of work according to plan. Like, at least that's what I'm hoping, and I keep sending into the universe. But anyway, that's enough about the RVing stuff. We are here to talk about this book right here, Once and Future Witches. So this book is a pretty hefty book. It's about 513 pages long, and it took me a while to read. I'm not going to lie. And the reasons behind that are, like I said, because I've got so much other stuff going on, that this book to me was not quite intriguing enough to be like, you know, those books where you pick it up and you just literally cannot stop reading it because it's just like so good and so invigorating, and like you just need to know what happens. This book is a little bit different than that. And I'm not saying it's a bad book. I would rate it a solid like 3.5, 3.7. But it's a different kind of book. It's a very deep intellectual book, although there is magic and witchcraft and stuff in that. There's obviously very much a political side to this book. And that's what it's meant to be. And I knew that going into it from other reviews. So like I knew that, but it was almost like so dense I had to take a break from it. So like I read probably a little over half of it, and then I literally have been like waiting a couple weeks, and every time I looked at it I was like, I'm just not ready to resume it yet. So I did kind of have to split it up into 2 different sections of reading and kind of allow my mind to do other things other than just focus on this book, because this book is kind of intense as far as like, there's a lot of political stuff going on, you know, there's a lot of issues that and topics that are being brought up, which is done incredibly well. And so, like, I mean, I really did enjoy this book. This was a really good book. It's just, it was heavy. It was a lot. Like, it was a lot. There's just a lot of things that are mentioned in here, and topics that I guess as an empath, like, I kind of like feel like you can feel the emotions of the author in this book, like this cry out for this acknowledgement of what is happening in the world today, and just like there's this level of pain that was developed in this book, writing it to make you understand all the issues of today. So it's kind of a heavy book. Like, it's a heavy emotional book in the fact that, yeah, you're dealing with race issues, you're dealing with sexism, you're dealing with transgender, and just all these things. And being gay, being lesbian, finding yourself, being who you are. But at the same time, there's a danger to that. And that's very much the case in today's world as well. There's a danger to being your true self. Witches are persecuted today. People are still being, hated just because of the color of their skin, just because you don't identify as exactly what you were born as. You're getting hatred for it. So you're not even safe to be yourself. And I think that's like one of the worst feelings in the world, is feeling lost in the world and like not knowing who you are, or knowing who you are but not being able to be that person because of everything else going on around you. Like, that's difficult. And I mean listen, like, I'm a white girl, like I can't speak to the people that have truly suffered these injustices. I mean, I can say that I've ran into some of that injustice as being a woman in a very man's world. And I'm not saying that I'm like a man hater by any means. I'm not. There are tons of just really awesome guys out there, a lot of awesome gentlemen that are not sexist towards women. But I have encountered the few that are. And yeah, it sucks, but that's a very small instance. And I'm not saying everybody's experiences are valid, but I can't attest to someone who has gone in a grocery store or whatever and has been judged by the color of their skin. I can't attest to that. I can't live your life and put your shoes on. I can, however, be empathetic to you, and I can speak out, when I see stuff like that happening, and, try to put a stop to it. So I think in the world today, there's just a lot of tension between groups, and rightfully so, because everybody's trying to get the rights that they rightfully deserve. But at the same time, it's like we've lost our way of communicating with each other. We've lost our way to see someone else's point of view. Even if we don't have that experience ourselves, just trying to relate to them the best we can, or at least just being supportive, I think that's what it really comes down to. And not ignoring situations when we see them happen, and just being more aware that they happen as well. Because, we're all just living our lives, like we're maybe not always trying to be ignorant, but sometimes it happens because we're just so wrapped up in our own lives that, yeah, sometimes it's hard to see what's going on outside of our little bubble. So, I get it, but this book is just, it did just a great job of just really pointing out the stuff that we need to be more aware of as humanity, and yeah, it was just kind of sad to see that these things are very much still happening today. Like, and you know, a lot of it was in regards to witchcraft itself, but the saying, you know, that witches will always be around no matter what, but that we're always getting burned for our beliefs. And I feel like that's the truth with a lot of religions, you know. Everybody's being persecuted for what they believe in, but it's like, can we not just leave people alone to believe what they want as long as they're not hurting anybody? It's like, it's just this constant battle. And I know that in, you know, some other countries, and I don't know, maybe even here, there's some persecution of witchcraft. I mean, I don't hear about that quite as much here, because I mean, witchcraft is kind of all over the place now. It's becoming this trend, whether people stick with it or not, but I mean, that's your choice. Like, it's not going to be for everybody, but hey, try it out, see if you like it. It fit me perfectly. So, but I know in other countries, they, you know, we term it in the broom closet for a reason. There are people that are literally, their lives would be in danger if they came out and showed who they truly were. So they have to be themselves in hiding. And that's just, that's sad, you know? Like, I would love to see a world where everybody could be exactly who they were without consequences. And, you know, I saw this post the other day that kind of hit me because I'm guilty of saying this. You know, there was a post saying it was about, you know, being lesbian or being gay, and they're like, can you stop just saying love is love and realizing that we're actually being hurt for it? And yeah, you know, like that was one of those things, you know, like I'm still learning all this stuff as well, so that wording it that way, because I have said very much, you know, I do believe if you're loving somebody, why can't you just let somebody love who they want to love, and that it shouldn't matter. But at the same time, you're right. You're 100% right. You guys are being persecuted for doing something that everyone else is allowed to do on a normal day. And so just, yeah, just bringing that awareness to us. So, and I think that's the thing, teaching people in a way, because yeah, like I was guilty of saying that all the time, but I didn't think about the other term of it. Yeah, you're right. It's like, well, love is love, but you guys aren't being allowed to do it. You guys are being hurt for it, and it needs to be acknowledged. You know, it's not enough just to say, well, we need to let people love however they want to love, and that it's just that. We need to also acknowledge, well, no, these people are being brutally hurt and judged and outcast for it as well, and what are we going to do about it? So I found that interesting. And I'm sorry if I'm kind of rambling. Like, these are deep topics, you know, like they're deep, and it's just, you know, like if I could wave a magic wand and fix the world, I would. Like, I really would. Because it's hard to see people suffer, you know, and for things that they shouldn't have to suffer for. And so, yeah, that's just, but I mean, as far as everything else goes, like, and the fact that, you know, it kind of shows that you can fight and fight and fight and fight and fight, and at the end still kind of lose, and still kind of like lose your life, which I found in this book as well. This book has a very kind of bittersweet ending, and it's great in that way, because it really does give you this realization that, yeah, this is what the world is, you know, there's no sugarcoating it. This is what it is. And that, yeah, we can keep fighting, and we need to keep fighting for our rights, for our justices, to evolve, to change the very outdated, you know, opinions that have been created over the years. but it's always going to be evolving, you know, like it's always going to be this fight for change. Like change just doesn't just happen, you know, and there is a lot of pain and suffering that goes behind it, and it's worth it. It's worth it if you can achieve that change. But to understand that there's a lot of struggle that goes behind change and changing people's opinions and changing the way things have been done for, you know, thousands and thousands of years. And just because it's been done that way for that long does not mean it's right. So it's a heavy book, and I know I keep saying that, but it's true. And I guess that's maybe why I need to take a break from it, because it's not like this action-filled book. It is very much, you're going alongside these people's lives, and although there is, you know, what I term fantastical magic happening in it, that almost takes kind of it's kind of dual. The political stuff, the magic, it's kind of intertwined in a very nice way together. Where, you know, they're using their magic to fight for what they deserve. So you do see quite a bit of magic intertwined with the lives of the people that we're following. And we do follow the three main sisters, Juniper, Agnes, and Beatrice. And it is kind of funny how, like, each of them kind of subtly change throughout the book. It's, you know, you have Juniper, who at the beginning of the book is all hellfire and revenge and just wanting to go after anyone who's hurt her throughout all this time. And then there's a certain thing that happens in the book, and it like changes her viewpoint completely, and she realizes that there are more important things to fight for than just to fight itself. You know, like what are you fighting for? You know, why are you fighting? What is the purpose behind fighting? Is it just pure revenge, or is it for other reasons because you see your family suffering and you want them to have a better life? Or, you know, any other reasons. You're fighting for loved ones, you're fighting for friends, you're just fighting for your own right yourself. And so she kind of discovers this as she goes along. And then you have Agnes, who I feel like she made the least character development throughout the whole thing, but she ends up with a little girl at the end, and so all of a sudden she's got this whole other life to think about, you know? Like, it's not just about her anymore. It's all of a sudden, well, what is my daughter's future life going to look like? And we've got to fight for the new age, because we've got to make it better for them. You know, we've got to make it better than what it was for us. And so you saw that with her. And then Bella, she had been hiding who she truly was for so long. You know, she was in love with a woman, and you know, she was hiding herself and not being allowed to love the way she wanted, because of course it was persecuted. And not only that, she was in love with a black woman at the time, which would have been real scandalous. And so you see this really cool duality between like the past and the present. Like, and that is obviously the once and future witches. So like the witches from before and the witches to now. And crazy how not enough has changed, you know, between all the injustice of the world. Not enough has changed. You know, there's progress being made, but it's like at a turtle pace. And so it's so crazy to like see how these two incredibly different worlds, so to speak, are actually kind of one and the same. Like, our past is really our future. Like, and it's taking forever to make these adjustments in the way that they should be made. And so I don't know, I really loved seeing how by the end they stopped apologizing for who they were. They stopped allowing people to put them down for who they were. they got up, they fought for what they believed in, they fought for themselves, and they lived for themselves. And I think that's kind of the biggest message of this book is, yeah, fighting for what you believe in. Don't stop fighting for what you believe in. You know, everybody deserves that justice and being able to be themselves. And so it was a really powerful book in that way. Like I mentioned before, I did kind of review my initial thoughts in another video, but there's also a lot of like fairy tale elements. So like throughout the book, different characters will tell different stories, and you actually realize the relevance of it at the end, especially for one of the characters, which was kind of a surprise. But I liked that aspect. I loved how they used just spell ingredients that you would most likely, most of them at least, would be able to find kind of all around. And I also loved how it touched on the fact that witchcraft is for anybody. Like, you don't have to be born in a certain group or be a certain person to have witchcraft in you. Like, it very heavily, not heavily, but like it does discuss, especially towards the end, as they kind of evolve and realize what witchcraft really is that a lot of it is just willpower, you know, like the will and to manifest what you want and to bring it into fruition and to believe it so heavily that it has no choice but to come true. Like, ultimately, that's what witchcraft is, you know. And in my personal practice, I kind of like that. I mean, I don't always solely rely on will because I am not a new witch, but, you know, I'm still on my journey and I'm newer in my journey than some people. So my will alone is probably not quite strong enough or developed enough to do that. So I do rely on some basic plant allies or, you know, sigils or whatever, or candle magic or fire or the elements, or, you know, I do bring some of that in, but honestly, I like to keep the practice pretty simple. You know, my go-tos are sigil magic. I love sigil magic. I feel like it's so powerful. It's this condensed amount of energy that just gets released. I love working with fire. Fire is probably my favorite element to work with, although I am trying to get into the other ones because I feel like I wear out fire because I work with it so much, and I definitely don't want it to feel underappreciated. But yeah, so because I do candle magic like constantly, almost every spell I do incorporates candles somehow, just because I feel like that's the best way that I can tune into that energy and that manifestation. I also like burning the herbs and allowing it to fly into the universe, because for me that's very visual of allowing my manifestation to spread wide and far and then bringing it back to me. So, but yeah, and there are certain herbs that I love to work with. You know, I love cinnamon. You know, I love poppy seeds. There's very certain ones that I kind of stick to. But, you know, everyone's different. If you like to have a huge apothecary and you use all of those herbs and spices and whatever, go for it. You know, there's no rule book to witchcraft, which it literally says that in this book. And that's true. There isn't. There is no rules to how witchcraft is meant to be. And I think that's the absolute beauty of it. You know, there's not a rule book saying that you have to be a certain way. I mean, you look throughout history and cultures, and there's this vast diversity of what witchcraft is and how people practice folk magic, voodoo, you know, like ceremonial magic. It's just, there's so many different ways that you can practice and learn from and embrace and be open-minded and curious. And I guess that's why I just really adore witchcraft, because it's so diverse, and it adapts so well to each culture, to each person, versus this very rigid religion that you have to fit a square peg into a circle hole and expect it to somehow work. You know, people are so vastly different. We see the world in so many different ways. We connect to the divine in so many different ways. So it's, to me, when someone tries to push their religious beliefs on someone else, it's like, okay, that religious belief works for you, and that is amazing. The divine has connected with you in that certain way, and that is fantastic. But maybe the divine doesn't speak to that other person in that way. It speaks to them through something else. And I think our divine entity is very adaptable in the way that it speaks to each of its people. And so that's why I'm like, I would love to see a world someday where we don't have so many religious debacles, because at the end of the day, none of us truly have the answer, you know? We don't know for sure what is and what is not. And so it's like, just maybe listen to your inside self, and however you speak with the divine, that's true to you and that is correct for you. It may not be correct for someone else. So it's just, I'm sorry. I'm like, I am a little bit passionate about this subject just because I want to see change. Like, I do. I really do want to see change. And I mean, I just want people to connect with each other and embrace each other for who they are. Like, it shouldn't be that hard, you know? Like, and I know that you may not always agree with someone's opinions. There's plenty of people I don't agree with, but I'm like, well, they're on their own life journey, you know? Like, I can't relate to them because I haven't lived that life. I have to just, I don't know, somewhat be respectful in the fact that and just acknowledge the fact I don't understand where they're coming from. So my tree is attacking my head. Anyway, long story short, I really did like this book. It is a slower read though, and it's very brain heavy, and you don't realize how heavy it is until you're kind of going along and you're realizing that it's just an emotionally heavy book. Like, at least for me it was. I can't speak for everybody, but I'm really glad I read it. Will I read it again? Probably not, because that was a lot. But I feel like it's important to read books like this sometimes, that they're not purely for enjoyability, that they're also make your brains think. And most of the time I get that from my nonfiction, you know, because I love to read nonfiction books about witchcraft and different cultures and different magic and just, you know, like self-help and how to manifest and all that kind of stuff. But I don't usually get it so much in a fiction book. But this fiction book had a lot of historical, like, history in it. So it very much felt magical, but at the same time, very real to where we're at today, where we were back in the, you know, in history. And so it had a very realism feel to it, almost too real for comfort at times. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the book. It was just, yeah, it's a powerful read and really leaves you thinking about the world and what we can do to help. And, you know, and that can be just overwhelming, because at the end of the day, we're one person, you know? Like, we're one person. We can't fix the entire world. We would be naive to think that we could. But I guess, you know, just self-awareness on ourselves. You know, what are we doing that may be offending somebody that we didn't even realize we were doing? And if somebody says something, just changing it, you know? Like, we're still adapting, we're still learning about each other. Humanity is always learning about each other. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I've probably said some really offensive things in my life, and not meaning to, but just not thinking. And so it's like, yeah, tell me if I'm being offensive. Tell me if I'm not using a correct term, you know? Like, I want to know these things. I don't want to hurt some of these feelings, you know? Words can hurt. They can hurt bad. They can sometimes hurt worse than just being outright punched, you know? Like, and that stuff sticks with you too, you know? Someone makes a awful comment, that sticks with you, whether you want it to or not. So just, like, nicely educating people on, you know, this stuff, because if somebody hasn't come from that world, they don't understand. But I am so glad to see in our world today that we we are fighting more for rights and justices of people. It needs to happen. It should have been happening a long time ago. It has been happening all throughout history, but I'm glad to see like some more progress. Like I'm really glad to see more cultural diversity in TV and movies. Like I'm glad to see, you know, different kinds of love being represented in movies and TV. Like, you know, do it right, please. There are some people that do it very wrong, and that's almost offensive how wrong they do it, but the ones that do it right, it's refreshing to see. So, and I hope to continue to see that progression as we go along, and I'm hoping that that keeps the flow, that we keep pushing in that positive direction. That gives me hope that we're maybe breaking some generational curses. So I'm having strong hopes, but then at the same time I see the government making stupid rules like abortion and rights and not allowing women to have that freedom for their own bodies, and then I just I'm like, okay, now we're like taking 1,200 steps back. But one issue at a time, I guess. So anywho, I hope you enjoyed this review today. I know I kind of babbled and went off in a million and one directions. That's probably partly because my brain is just scatterbrained as it is right now. It is Shark Week too, so my brain is really just out in the ether somewhere far away where I can't reach it. But yeah, thank you for watching as always. I'm sorry if my videos have not been like super duper exciting recently. That will change, obviously, but we are just trying to figure out a lot of logistics and stuff right now, so I'm trying to get videos out every week as well, because, you know, you gotta keep up with YouTube if you want to become known at all. Although I do document this kind of stuff for me just as much as I do for anybody who is willing to subscribe and watch me babble for, you know, 36 minutes. Oh my god. My videos, I never expect them to be as long as they are. I just kind of go on a rant and whatever happens, happens. So, because I just believe in being just upfront myself and real with you. So, if you like it, great. If you don't, I understand. So, but if you do like my content, please give a big old like. Please consider subscribing, ring that notification bell, because I do put out videos every week, and they should be getting a lot more exciting as we kind of go along on this new journey with the RV. I will continue to keep you updated about that. But otherwise, good vibes to get this house sold, please. And then, yeah, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and I will see you next time for another video. Bye.